Put it in the books. The Mets have wrapped up their first series of the year, taking 3 out of 4 from the Marlins. So let's take a temperature check on the Metropolitan season thus far with the co-host of the Amazing But True podcast, the one and only Jake Brown. Jake, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. A series win, start off the year. You know, that's how you start it. Just win series. That's all we ask for.
So all the Mets fans are asking for to win series until your prediction of them winning a World Series. Now, Jake, we saw the Major League debut of Kodai Senga in the series finale against Miami. 8 Ks and 5 1/3 for the rookie. What did you think of his performance, and what can he bring to this Mets starting rotation?
Well, I'll start it with a little song that should be the theme of every one of his starts, Dexter. And if there's a Kodai Senga in your neighborhood, what you gonna throw? Goes forkball. I mean, that's the 4 bars of the year right there. Just call me Drake. That's the pitch. It's the put-out pitch. All 8 of his strikeouts coming on the goes forkball. It's a pitch that a lot of players have never seen before at any level. The minors, the majors, it's a rare pitch. You mix that with a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. He threw it 26 times, the forkball, threw the fastball 32. So a good portion of his pitches were the fastball mixed with that goes forkball. Then he mixed in a little bit of a slider as well. So he had a good mix of pitches going and a splitter. Like, he's got a lot of different pitches, a lot of variation. And it's a you know, that stat tells you it all right there. All 8 strikeouts by that pitch, and you mix that in with the pitch clock and guys not having time to think and only being able to step out twice. After he got the nerves out of the way in the first inning, he was dealing after that. So it's going to be fun to see him. And, you know, it helps that you start off your first 2 starts are against the Marlins. It's basically, you know, it's an appetizer. It's the fried calamari. It's the fish, if you want to say, the fish appetizer with reeling in the Marlins twice in a row.
I see you throwing a little shade to the Marlins there. Now, I wasn't really feeling the bars, but I like the Ghostbusters reference, and I like, you know, Kodai Senga ghosting the Marlins. I do like all of that. Of note, Kodai Senga's 8 strikeouts, that ties him for the 4th most ever by a Japanese Major League pitcher in his MLB debut. So pretty interesting stuff there. So, Jake, everything we're talking about here, small sample size theater, it's only 4 games, but Eduardo Escobar, he's hitting .063 at the plate. Are you concerned about the third baseman start to the season, especially when we see Brett Beatty has gotten off to a good start? Should he be watching his back in terms of Beatty coming up here?
Yeah, well, those were my warm-up bars. They get better as the season goes on. But I'm not worried about Eduardo Escobar because Brett Beatty hit 2 homers in a weekend. Now, I don't want to hear the home opener Mets fans booing Escobar. Our Mets fans already, after the first series, saying, you know, get rid of Escobar, bring up Beatty, give it at least a few weeks. This is a 162-game season, and I think Escobar maybe could feel, you know, it coming. He could feel the young guy taking his spot, and that's not the worst thing in the world for him. It's not the worst thing in the world for the Mets because Brett Beatty's the third baseman of the future. And Escobar can still be a part of this team. He can still be a part-time player. He can be a late-game pinch hitter. You know, if he doesn't play every day, that doesn't mean you send him packing. I think he can have a role in this team, and he's a good veteran leader. So give it a few weeks before we call for Beatty. But listen, if he keeps playing like this, it doesn't hurt that you have a guy waiting in the wings that could take his spot. And I think that only makes the Mets better if you can mix and match and use both Beatty and Escobar at times as DH, third base, and, you know, give guys days off.
All right, we will see how it all plays out. Telling the fans not to jump the gun a bit, but, you know, New York baseball, this can happen sometimes. Now, there was some concern, as you know, Jake, about the Mets bullpen following Edwin Diaz's injury, but the pen through 4 games has been quite impressive, allowing only 1 run through the first 4 games. Small sample size theater again, but should Mets fans be encouraged by the relief performances that they have seen thus far?
Yeah, they should be. You know, the 1 run coming from John Curtis, another guy that no one really heard of. Curtis and Nagasek and Dennis Santana were the 3 kind of unknowns. So I think it was good for fans to see them in games that count. I don't really count spring training, see what they had. And those other 3 guys didn't give up a run. So it's a solid start. Again, I'll say, and listen, the Marlins have a few hitters, and Luis Ariz is, you know, he's incredible. This guy is a walking hit. You know, Michael Beasley was walking bucket. Luis Ariz is walking hit. Like, every time he comes up, he might get a hit. So, you know, it's a decent lineup, but not a great lineup. So I don't want to jump the gun and say, hey, the bullpen set. These are still relievers that aren't household names that we got to see against better lineups. We'll see what they do against a better Milwaukee lineup this week, what they do against a really good San Diego lineup in a playoff preview next week at Citi Field. We'll see what they do in cold weather. That's going to be a big difference for some of these relievers and getting grip on the ball. But so far, so good for these guys. And I think Mets fans are going to be confident getting the ball, at least with Ottavino and Robertson at the back end. And if those guys could just fill the role and get a couple innings like Nagasek did on Sunday with 2 innings and saving Robertson, for the afternoon game on Monday and saving Ottavino, that'll be huge, because if Buck could manage this right, he can make this thing work. But I still think eventually they're going to need to get, an elite middle to late reliever at some point this season.
All right, we will see. Mets off to a 3-1 start to the season, taking 3 out of 4 from the Miami Marlins. That is Jake Brown, the co-host of the Amazing But True podcast. Always a great time talking Mets baseball with him. Thank you, Jake.
Ghostbusters night, Citi Field, make it happen, Uncle Stevie.
We got to make that happen. Thanks, man.